This is a quick breakdown of a cinematic gym shoot that I did and how you can recreate something similar. So the first thing that I would recommend starting with anytime you're looking to shoot anything cinematic is you have to location scout. You gotta figure out where you're shooting, and then from there, you can build everything else afterwards. So if you know what the location looks like, you can start with attacking composition of what you're gonna shoot when you actually show up. So this means picking out your shots before you even get there. Now, unfortunately, I didn't do enough location scouting for this location before I showed up, but it's a gym that I had been to numerous times. Prior to getting into video production, I was a personal trainer for about 7 years, and that's actually what got me into video production. I found myself making more and more content for my social media channels and getting better at that far more than I cared about actually training people. And so I made the smart decision to make a switch and actually help people showcase their brands in their best light. So that's what I do now, and that's why I enjoy teaching about it, because I realize my audience might be someone who's in that boat looking to help other brands. It might be a business owner who owns a small brand but isn't sure where to start, or you might be someone that's hired on one of those small teams and you just need somewhere to start, whether you're a social media manager or a videographer. So let's jump back into how we actually created more cinematic lighting in a gym setting. So once I understood what the actual location looked like and I planned out a few different composition shots, I then thought about where I would be positioning my different lights. So I know what you're already thinking. I'm gonna tell you, you need this light, and this light. What you really wanna start with first when it comes to lighting is understand what lights that the gym already has. A lot of gyms have either circular light bulbs that come down from the ceiling that have like a cone shape to them and kind of create more like spotlights, or they have those long tube lights that are usually fluorescent. Personally, when I'm in gyms with those fluorescent lights, I like them a little bit more because I use tube lights to supplement for extra light that I need, and that a lot of times can mimic a fluorescent light and be almost seamless in a video where someone doesn't notice. You want it to look so natural that someone doesn't notice that something's being artificially lit, meaning they don't realize there are lights that are added to the image that aren't already there. There are advanced techniques where people will show off the artificial lighting that they're using, and it'll still mold well into the story, but when you're first starting out, again, you want to try to make things feel as natural as possible and not really try to bend the rules too much right away. So for this cinematic shoot, I had two kinds of lights that I used throughout the entire thing. Now, I was able to speak with the owner of the gym before I got started, and he was totally fine with me using different lights in all parts of the gym. It was a really slow hour a day. And so my main key lights that I used for the majority of the shoot were the Nanlite Pavo Tube 2s, the 30X versions. These lights are absolutely phenomenal. They're light, they're compact, they're convenient, they fit in your car. You can hook them up and mount them as magnetic backs to anything that has metal attached to it. And you can also set them on tripod stands and conveniently move them around in tight spaces. So I absolutely love using them because of their compact nature. In addition, they're super bright, and they also can go from both warm to cool temperatures in full colors as well. A lot of my style isn't super stylistic as far as extreme colors. I like neutrals a lot more because I feel like that's the best way for me to manipulate an image and to get something aesthetically pleasing that I feel fits along with my brand. But no matter what your brand is, no matter what you're trying to showcase, these lights are perfect for that. And I have to thank Nanlite USA for sending them to me years ago because I use them on almost every shoot that I get the chance to. In fact, I'm actually using two Nanlite Pavo tubes right now. One's lighting me from the left-hand side and one is lighting me from behind in order for you to see this image that you're currently looking at. Now, the second light that I used, and probably the most important light that I needed for a couple key shots, which is also another Nanlite product, it's the Forza 300B. This is a really powerful light, and if you're using it in a gym setting, you definitely have to make sure that you get permission from the owner of the gym and you have a little sectioned off space in order to use this light properly. We set this light up near the dumbbell stand because we knew we were doing a photo shoot around there as well. The majority of the shoot that we did, we knew was going to be right there, and we didn't have anything else nearby to get enough light to attach the Nanlite Pavo tubes to in order to expose the subject. Now, my subject is actually another videographer and a friend of mine, and she was prepping for a bodybuilding show, her first time competing in about 10 years, and so she really wanted to showcase her training prior to the actual competition. So the setup for the Forza 300B was I mounted it to a C-stand, and I actually had the light come up way high because I wanted to mimic it like it was down lighting coming from the house lights at the gym. The great thing about it is it did do that, and plus we had a slightly different angle. We were able to really crank up the power for those lights to expose for her skin in a really great way. Now you'll notice that in this cinematic lighting, as you're watching all of this B-roll, there's one common thing. You see light and you see shadows. Equally important to the amount of light that you use is the amount of light that you don't use. If you take a look at the light parts of the image as she's working out, you can see that there are only parts of her body that are lit fully, and the other half looks a little bit more darker, looks a little more shadowy. And if you're trying to make something really look cinematic, you want to always film on that shadow side. So you want your camera almost pointed towards the light, but the light just out of frame so that, again, it comes off as natural as possible. This basically creates more tension in the look, and overall, that's what makes things feel cinematic. You're trying to figure out what's important to focus on. Is it the shadow side of that person, or is it the lighter side of that person? Depending on the shot and depending on the composition, depends on which one is more important in that instance. This is just me breaking all this stuff down from my perspective. This is not a technical breakdown as if you would learn in film school, but this is how you're gonna film more cinematic things and overall what you're looking to look for when you're trying to create an image like this. Let's recap. Location scouting, we picked composition, and then we also made sure that we had the right equipment as far as lighting goes. Just as important as lighting is the amount of lighting that you don't use. One other thing that I need to mention in regards to this is negative fill. You're probably wondering what I'm talking about. Well, negative fill basically is any piece of fabric or anything that can capture light that creates negative, as in shadows, in your image. The walls pretty much acted like negative fill in a lot of my shots, to the point that I didn't have to add any extra fabrics to catch some of the extra light from spilling on one side of her face or one side of her body versus the other. It again made it really, really seamless and easy to get the shots and expose for things in the right way. And overall, I was pretty happy with how this project turned out. And in fact, when I've done other gym shoots, it's pretty much the same thing I look for anywhere. As I mentioned, knowing the house lights in the gym are gonna help a lot with understanding how to expose for things. But even as I've shot in different gyms and used different setups, it's pretty much the same exact thing. You figure out where the light and the dark parts in the image, and then you're exposing for them over time. The main tool that I use to do this is false color on my external monitor. I figure out where someone's skin tone's laying in the image, I figure out what are the highlights and the shadows of that image, and I expose for things more towards that person's skin tone and preserving my highlights. Now, I don't want to get too in-depth into going into how to use false color. I'll save that for another video. But this was just a quick breakdown of how to make things look more cinematic and to shoot more cinematic in a gym. Let me know if you want me to do a full breakdown of false color and how I go about using it to expose for skin tones and how it can overall help you film better just in general for anything. Anyways, that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.